So here I am again on the trails, and today I was just kind of thinking about writing and like what makes someone a writer. Like, what made writing my passion? I'm not quite sure if there's like a particular spark that started it all, but I know I've been writing since I was a kid. Just at first maybe some like goofy short stories, and then a lot of writing kind of inspired by what I read. I was such a voracious writer and reader. I would read just a ton. Maybe it's kind of embarrassing, but I would take a book everywhere. I guess I still do. And then like in second grade and first grade, we had these contests where you would like write a chart of what you read over the week. Some kids would come back and they'd have like a picture book that they read or something. And then I would be like almost embarrassed because I'd come back and I'd have all these novels that I read over the week. And I'm like, ooh, like maybe I read too much. I'm not supposed to read this much. Like, what did I do wrong? But I just loved reading. I loved hearing someone's story. Even today, like if we're on a road trip, at like every town we drive past, every abandoned house, I'm just curious. Like, what's the story there? What's that house's story? What's the family who lived there? You know? Or people too. I just love hearing people's stories. I love reading about them and just learning more, especially if someone's like from a unique perspective to me. So maybe if they had just a totally different belief system or some unique experience, or if they're from a different country, I'm just like so curious. I want to know more about their story. I just want to find out more. And sometimes my curiosity has maybe led to like weird situations, or maybe I've got myself into trouble, like trying to ask people different things, but not like trouble, but like maybe people thought it was awkward or something. So there's those sometimes situations, but yeah, I'm just always curious, and I just love hearing people's stories. So maybe that's partially what makes me writer, is just telling some of those stories. And I think experience is something that is really important as a writer. Like I mentioned, as a kid, a lot of the stories I wrote were based on things that I read. Some were based on things that I did. They probably weren't the greatest books in terms of like plot or suspense or anything, but they were still, interesting and fun to write. And then I got to thinking maybe the experiences that maybe cause you more stress or are more important to your life, or even the tragedies of your life, they can make your writing, like more passionate, more powerful. And I was thinking like, I feel like I'm writing too much about my cancer experience lately, but I think that was just something that's really important, and it just played a huge role in my life, so it just kind of just keeps coming out there. But there are other experiences that I've had where I felt like my writing really soared, and one of those I think was in college, because I was an English major. I was so set on writing for the rest of my life. That's what I was going to do, right? But then you get there and everyone asks you, what are you going to do as an English major? You're going to work at Starbucks? Like they kind of make fun of you. I don't know. Not like bullying maybe, but maybe bullying is a strong word, but they're kind of implying that you just can't do a job with that degree. And so even though I am a dreamer, I'm also sort of a realist, pessimist kind of person. And I get, I do have to pay the bills. I can't just be a housekeeper and then like write in my mind as I'm cleaning, which is what I was doing at the time besides school. So I thought, maybe I should find something more solid. So I considered journalism, but that just didn't end up being quite like the right fit for me at that time. I even took some radio classes thinking, I'll be like a DJ or something, but it's kind of hard to get into. There's not that many people who are DJs, really. It's kind of a small field, especially now. I think a lot of stuff is just recorded. And then I was tutoring at the time, some ESL students, but also just a variety of students, and I realized, wow, I really love this. That impact of seeing someone finally get it, or working with someone on the writing was really exciting, and I realized that I was going to be an English teacher at that point. But that whole experience of trying to figure out what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do with my life, I feel like that was pretty intense. And that's when I did a lot of writing, some bad and some good though. So that was one time. I think another moment was right before my first son was born. So at the time I was 26, so I feel like I was probably young for a millennial to have a first child, but none of my friends or relatives at that time like had babies or were like at that stage quite yet. And so I was kind of trying to figure out what this is going to be. I think I kind of panicked at some point and thought, oh, this is like the end of my independence, you know? I'm going to have this little person who goes everywhere with me now. It's not just me anymore. And so during that time I just did so much writing because I was like, no, what am I going to do after this? I'm not going to have my time anymore to myself. So I did so much writing at that time. And don't get me wrong, I love being a mom. I have 2 other kids. I think I think being a mom is like an incredible, amazing gift. But yeah, it's difficult too. You have to be responsible for these little people. You have to keep them alive. It's a lot of work, you know. So there's that. It can be rewarding, but it is work. It is difficult. It can be a big transition. Especially if you're young and you're just kind of, used to not really being responsible for others. I don't know if everyone feels that way, but at least that's how I view it. And then I think another important time was just during grad school. Like, when you go to grad school for writing, you're surrounded by all these really cool, insightful people because they're all writers, and so we're kind of like an edgy, weird group of people, but also very interesting, and I wish I'd had more time to get to know people a little bit better from my writing cohort. I just think there are a lot of cool people there, but unfortunately, this is where the difficult situation comes in. I was taking on a lot. I had my oldest son, who was just a baby at the time, or a toddler, and I had 2 jobs. So I was like teaching, doing the TA thing, and also doing the online school. And then my husband wasn't there to help at the time because with his job was in Wisconsin, so he was several hours away and would only be able to come. He would do like a long 7-hour haul on the weekend, be with us for like a couple days, and you have to rush back, and it was just kind of all like a lot of stress all around. But still, like, I wouldn't take back that time. I wouldn't undo that experience. I just wish that I would have had more time with other writers when I was in that environment. I just didn't physically have the time or the ability to really cart my small child around to everything that was going on there. But yeah, it was a time where I did like a lot of writing and where I just only had a certain amount of time. So when I did sit down to write, I would just churn out like some of my best work at the time, I think, just because I only had such short time, and I was also like surrounded by all these creative juices. So and all this great feedback from people. So I feel like that really could be honed into my writing at that time. But I think those are all powerful times, and so I think kind of maybe like the moral of my talk here today is just kind of, if you're a writer and sometimes you might reach at like a point where you feel like maybe the juices aren't flowing as much, maybe it's okay at this time, because maybe you're in a really good spot. Like I find that right now, maybe I don't feel quite as energized or like as much of a need to write at this moment, because now things have settled down a little bit. Like my health is good right now. I got the clean scans and remission. It's looking good. We have a nice schedule with my husband's work schedule and my work schedule and our kids, and so like we're just like, I'm really happy, and that's good, right? So and I'm not as stressed, so that doesn't make for the best writing, but it makes for good life. So yeah, I'll still find those creative juices, but maybe I'll be more returning to others writing and just reading more and finding that way to like invigorate that that creative thought flow. Yeah, and I think another thing you could take away is when you do go through difficult, stressful times, I guess write about it. It's a great way to let that sort of like that negativity, that negative or stressful energy just like flow out. And I think you will feel a lot better. I think that's always been a healing process for me as well when I'm writing.